So I want you to imagine this scenario. You've spent maybe 5 years mastering English grammar.
Right, just diligently studying those textbooks every single day.
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
you know all the rules about verb tenses, and you've passed your language tests with flying colors. You feel prepared.
You feel totally confident, like, you've got this.
Yeah. But then you travel to the United States or Canada, and you step through the automatic sliding doors of this massive, brightly lit American supermarket.
Oh boy, the classic certain market shock.
Right. You just need to buy a few simple ingredients for dinner, but suddenly you find yourself completely frozen. I mean, there's a robotic machine shouting unexpected item in bagging area for the entire store to hear.
And an employee is rapidly firing questions at you about loyalty cards and paper or plastic.
Yeah, exactly. And you realize in that exact moment that all those years of textbook study never actually prepared you for this everyday reality.
It's a terrifyingly common experience for so many language learners.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like the ultimate collision between classroom theory and real-world application.
I think we've all been there in one way or another when learning a new language. You have the map, which is your textbook.
Right, and the map shows you exactly where the roads are. It gives you all the formal, proper phrases.
But then you walk into the grocery store and you realize the map you were studying is, well, it's completely different from the actual territory.
Yeah, the textbook taught you this very stiff, formal bow, but the local people in the store are using, like, a secret local handshake.
That is exactly it. And if you do not know the handshake, you feel entirely left out.
That analogy of the secret local handshake is incredibly accurate because traditional language education, it focuses heavily on grammatical perfection.
Yeah, getting the rules exactly right.
Exactly. It teaches you how to be technically correct.
Yeah.
But it frequently misses the natural rhythm, the unspoken social rules.
The stuff people actually say.
Right. Those subtle conversational cues that native speakers use to navigate these highly specific everyday spaces.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We want to warmly welcome you, yes, you, the learner who is listening to us right now.
We are so glad you're here.
Our goal today is very specific. We are going to take you on a guided, detailed tour through a quintessential American experience.
Navigating a massive supermarket, like a Ralph's or a Kroger or a Safeway.
Yeah, and successfully checking out at the end without feeling that overwhelming panic.
We really want to help you move far beyond those robotic textbook translations.
Yeah.
We're going to explore how to communicate smoothly, naturally, and with real confidence.
And we're going to do this carefully. We'll be speaking clearly, pacing our conversation moderately, and really ensuring that every single linguistic nuance is accessible to you.
No matter where you are in your English learning journey, you're going to get something out of this.
We want this to be a massive confidence builder for you. But before we even get to the vocabulary and the phrases, I think we need to take a step back.
Okay, take a step back to where?
To the actual physical experience of going to the grocery store. Because our source material today points out something fascinating about human behavior.
Oh, about the two different types of shoppers, yes.
Exactly. When it comes to this specific task, people tend to fall into two completely opposite psychological camps.
There is a profound divide in how people approach this environment. On one side of the spectrum, you have what the sources call the mission-driven approach.
Oh, I know this camp very well. I live in this camp.
You're a mission-driven shopper.
100%. This is the mindset that views a trip to the supermarket as the ultimate weekend adulting chore.
And for anyone listening who might not be familiar with that slang term, adulting is a relatively modern phrase, right?
Yeah, it's something we use to describe the act of doing all those responsible, necessary, and let's be honest, slightly boring tasks that keep your life functioning properly.
Right. It's the administration of daily life, like paying bills, scheduling doctor appointments, and of course, buying food.
Precisely. So for the mission-driven shopper, the massive grocery run is usually grouped together with doing the laundry, cleaning the bathroom, and vacuuming the floors.
It's just another hurdle to be cleared.
Exactly. You go in with a highly specific, organized list. You march through those automatic doors with a fierce look in your eye, and your only objective is to get in, secure the items, and get out as fast as humanly possible.
For that demographic, efficiency is paramount. The store is basically an obstacle course.
It really is.
But then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have a very different mindset, which is the relaxed approach.
This group always amazes me. I see them in the store, and I genuinely marvel at their peace of mind.
It is a completely different relationship with the space. For these individuals, the supermarket is not a chore to conquer. It's a destination.
Like a vacation spot?
Almost.
Yeah.
It's almost a form of entertainment or an escape. Our sources paint a perfect picture of this. It's the person who walks in on a Sunday morning holding a warm cup of coffee, just completely relaxed.
Oh, yeah. They do not have a strict list. They are ready to just wander up and down the aisles for an hour.
They treat the grocery store like a museum.
Yes. They're casually sipping a latte, picking up 17 different types of olive oil, reading the labels, just contemplating a new brand of crackers.
For them, it is a relaxing stroll. They are seeking inspiration rather than just execution.
I wish I could be that person. But, what I find most compelling here is that regardless of which camp you fall into, whether you're the speed racer with the checklist or the relaxed wanderer with the coffee, there is one absolute cardinal rule of grocery shopping.
A rule that applies universally to everyone.
You cannot break this rule. The consequences are dire.
The golden rule of the supermarket. Never, under any circumstances, go on an empty stomach.
Never go hungry. Our sources are incredibly clear about the tragic results of what we call hungry shopping.
It's so true, though.
If you walk through those doors and your stomach is actively growling, you can just throw your carefully planned grocery list right in the trash. All logic and reason just fly right out the window.
It's actually a scientifically documented phenomenon.
Yeah.
And the psychology behind it is deeply rooted in our evolutionary biology.
I really want to dig into that because the sources describe this perfectly. You go in meaning to buy chicken and vegetables for the week, right?
Right, sensible things.
But because you are hungry, you end up at the cash register with 3 family-sized bags of potato chips, 2 boxes of chocolate chip cookies, a frozen pizza, and absolutely 0 actual raw ingredients to cook for dinner.
0.
Why does our brain betray us like this?
Well, it comes down to how the foraging part of the human brain operates under stress. When your blood sugar is low and you feel hunger, your brain switches into survival mode.
So it's literally panicking.
Exactly. It begins actively seeking out the highest possible caloric reward for the lowest possible effort.
Wow.
It does not want to think about the multiple steps required to chop vegetables, marinate chicken, and wait 45 minutes for an oven to preheat tomorrow evening.
That is way too much work for a hungry brain.
Indeed. Your brain is thinking entirely in the short term.
Yeah.
It wants to know what you can rip open and consume the very second you sit down in your car.
Oh, I've eaten so many chips in my car in the parking lot.
We all have. So you bypass the raw ingredients, the healthy, sensible choices, and you gravitate entirely toward highly processed, ready-to-eat items that are packed with salt, sugar, and fat.
You essentially turn into a caveman surrounded by modern snack foods. You end up with a pantry full of chips and no dinner.
It's a real problem.
And this evolutionary vulnerability is something we have to highlight because the people who design these massive supermarkets are very aware of human psychology.
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing.
Hungry shopping leads to bad choices, sure, but the stores themselves are actually engineered to play psychological tricks on you from the very moment you walk in.
They are highly manipulated environments. Honestly, nothing is left to chance.
Not a single thing.
Nope. The lighting, the music, the floor plan, it is all carefully curated to influence your purchasing behavior.
Let's unpack the floor plan specifically, because the layout of these big American grocery chains is practically identical across the country.
It really is.
Whether you walk into a store in California, Texas, or New York, what is almost always the very first thing you encounter right after you grab your shopping cart?
It is the fresh fruits and vegetables. Always.
Always. And according to our sources, this is not just to make the store look pretty. There is a deep psychological strategy at play here. Let's talk about the produce illusion.
The produce illusion is such a fascinating concept in consumer psychology. Let's trace the physical journey for a second.
Okay, let's do it.
You walk in, and you are immediately surrounded by healthy options. The vibrant, healthy, colorful fruits and vegetables are situated squarely at the entrance.
The lighting is bright. Sometimes they have those little misters spraying water on the leafy greens.
Right, to make them look incredibly fresh. It resembles a vibrant outdoor farmer's market.
It smells earthy and clean.
Yes, exactly. So you take a big bunch of fresh spinach, some bright red apples, and a bunch of organic bananas, and you place them into your empty shopping cart.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, at that exact moment, how do you feel about yourself?
Honestly, I feel amazing. I look down at my cart and I think, look at me. I am a responsible adult making incredibly healthy choices. I am a fitness icon.
Right, you get a genuine rush of dopamine, just from placing the spinach in the cart, even though you haven't actually eaten it yet.
That is so true. I haven't done any of the work yet, but I feel proud.
And that feeling is entirely intentional. You feel virtuous. You have established a baseline of being healthy and responsible at the very front of the store.
Okay, so they set me up to feel good.
Yes, and consumer psychology shows that once you have established this moral high ground with yourself, a phenomenon known as licensing occurs.
Licensing, like giving yourself permission to do something.
Exactly. I mean, that is a perfect way to phrase it. You give yourself a psychological license to be bad because you were good first.
Oh.
By the time you navigate away from the fresh vegetables and reach the center of the store, where all the highly processed snacks and sugary treats are kept, your brain begins a subconscious negotiation.
Oh, I do this negotiation every single week. I literally look at the spinach and think, well, because I'm going to have a giant salad on Tuesday, I absolutely deserve to buy this massive family-sized package of double-stuffed Oreos today.
You're proving the point perfectly. The store forces you to be good at the beginning so that you will easily justify impulsive, less healthy purchases later on.
That's wild.
If the store layout were reversed and you encountered the cookies and potato chips first, you might hesitate.
Yeah, I would.
You might feel guilty about throwing junk food into a completely empty cart. But putting them in a cart that already contains a healthy foundation, that guilt just disappears.
It is brilliant and slightly terrifying how well they understand our mental weaknesses. But while we can marvel at the psychological layout designed to manipulate our buying habits, there's another much more visceral aspect of these stores that we have to talk about.
We definitely do.
And this is particularly crucial for you, the learner, who might be trying to navigate this space using a second language.
We really need to acknowledge the sheer intimidation factor of the space itself.
Yes. Because if you come from a place where grocery shopping means visiting a small, cozy neighborhood market or, a specialized butcher and baker, the American supermarket is going to be a massive shock to your system.
It really is. These are not stores. They are massive warehouses.
The scale is just staggering.
We are talking about tens of thousands of square feet. The ceilings are high and industrial. The fluorescent lighting is intensely bright. And the volume of products on the shelves can induce genuine decision fatigue.
I mean, there's a whole aisle just for cereal. And because of that scale, it is incredibly easy to get completely lost. You are just walking in circles, staring at walls of colorful boxes.
It happens to everyone.
And I want to push back on anyone who thinks getting lost in a grocery store is just a minor, funny annoyance. If you are in a foreign country or you are an English learner trying to adapt to a new environment, getting lost in a warehouse-sized supermarket induces a very real physical anxiety.
It stops being a chore and starts becoming a deeply stressful event. Our sources highlight a very relatable example of this.
Oh, trying to find one specific, slightly unusual item, right? Like coconut milk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about the logic of coconut milk for a second. In a store with 50,000 items, where does it belong?
That is the problem. It could logically be placed in 3 or 4 different areas.
Right. Is it in the baking section because you use it to bake cakes?
Maybe.
Is it in the international food section next to the curry pastes? Or is it in the refrigerated dairy section alongside the almond milk and soy milk?
So you are wandering. You check the baking section, it's not there. You check the dairy fridge, is not there either. The frustration is building up.
And then the realization hits you.
You realize that you are going to have to do the scariest thing of all. You're going to have to approach a complete stranger and ask for help in your second language.
For many learners, that is a highly vulnerable moment. It really is.
Your heart starts beating faster. You start worrying about your pronunciation. You worry if your accent is too thick. You worry that you're going to use the wrong vocabulary word and they'll just stare at you blankly. It is terrifying.
The fear of that specific interaction is exactly why we need to move out of the psychology of the store and into the practical linguistics.
Yes, let's get to the tools.
Because to overcome that fear of getting lost, you do not need perfect complex grammar. You do not need to speak in elaborate poetic sentences. You simply need the right vocabulary.
Let's transition into those essential tools then. Our sources refer to these as pocket words.
I love that term.
Me too. Think of them as high-value words that you keep securely in your back pocket. Whenever you are confused or lost, you can reach into your pocket, pull one out, and immediately make yourself understood.
They're lifesavers.
And here's where it gets really interesting for learners. Textbooks often get these words completely wrong, or they ignore the nuance of how native speakers actually say them in real life.
That is so true. Let's unpack the first essential pocket word, I'm going to spell it out for clarity. P-R-O-D-U-C-E.
Okay, P-R-O-D-U-C-E. Now, wait a minute. I know this word from my basic English classes. It is a verb. If a factory makes a car, they produce a car. A movie studio will produce a film.
You are absolutely correct in that context. As a verb, meaning to make, create, or manufacture something, the pronunciation rules dictate that the stress falls heavily on the second syllable. Listen closely. Produce. The factory will produce cars.
But we are not in a car factory. We are standing next to the apples and spinach.
And that changes everything. In the context of a supermarket, this word transforms into a noun, referring collectively to all the fresh fruits and vegetables.
So the pronunciation changes.
Yes. English has a very common, yet often untaught phonetic rule regarding words that can function as both nouns and verbs. When produce becomes a noun, the stress shifts entirely to the first syllable.
Okay, so how does it sound?
It becomes produce.
Produce.
Notice the difference in the musicality of the word. The verb is produce. The noun is produce. You make that first syllable, the pro, slightly louder, slightly longer in duration, and higher in pitch. Produce.
That is such a subtle shift, but it fundamentally changes the word. So when you walk into the store and see all those healthy items by the entrance that we talked about earlier, you are walking into the produce section.
Correct.
If you need apples, you grab them from the produce section.
Exactly. You use it as an adjective to describe the area of the store or as a noun to describe the items themselves.
What I really love about this distinction from our source material is the reminder that native speakers do not walk around using literal descriptive translations.
No, they don't.
If you want to sound like a local, if you want to use that secret handshake, you do not call it the vegetable area or the fruit zone.
While people will understand what you mean by vegetable area, it sounds instantly foreign. It marks you as an outsider.
Right. But if you walk up to an employee and ask a question about the produce section, it signals immediately that you know the everyday, casual language of the culture.
Using the correct phonetic stress on produce makes a massive difference in how naturally you blend into the environment. It is a true sign of fluency.
Okay, so you have conquered the produce section. You have your spinach. Now you have to venture into the center of the store to find the dry goods, which brings us to a navigational pocket word that I absolutely have to complain about.
Uh-oh. I have a feeling I know which word this is.
I'm going to spell it. A-I-S-L-E. Now, I have to step in here on behalf of every single English learner on the planet and express genuine, profound frustration.
That's a tough one.
What on earth is going on with this spelling? Why is there an A and an S in this word if we are not going to pronounce either of them? It feels like phonetic betrayal.
It truly is a nightmare for learners. English spelling is notoriously chaotic, and this word is a prime example.
Where did it even come from?
The spelling originates from a very long, convoluted history of mixing Old French and Latin roots over centuries. The spelling reflects the history of the word, not the modern pronunciation.
Well, it is ridiculous, but for the sake of survival in the grocery store, how do we actually say it?
You must completely ignore the A and the S when you speak. The pronunciation is identical to the contraction for I will. It sounds exactly like aisle. Aisle.
Aisle. It is so strange to look at on a piece of paper, but it is actually very easy to say once you know the secret trick. And an aisle is defined as what exactly?
An aisle refers to those long, straight, numbered walkways located between the tall shelves where all the packaged food is kept.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you are walking down a path with towering shelves of breakfast cereal on your left side and towering shelves of oatmeal on your right side, you are walking down an aisle.
And because these American supermarkets are the size of warehouses, there can be 20 or 30 of these long walkways. So to help you navigate, they are all numbered with large signs hanging from the ceiling.
Which is why mastering this word is non-negotiable. You will hear it constantly.
Really?
Everywhere.
Yes. If there is a spill on the floor, the intercom will announce, "Clean up on aisle 3." If you ask where the bread is, an employee will say, "The bread is in aisle 9."
Our source gives a perfect real-world application of this. Let's say you have been wandering around looking for peanut butter. You finally spot it down one of these walkways right next to the jelly. You would turn to your shopping partner and say, "I found it in aisle 5.
Using that specific term, aisle 5, is the key to unlocking the map of the store.
So we have produce and aisle. Let's look at the third essential phrase. This one is actually a phrasal verb.
Ah, phrasal verbs. I know phrasal verbs can be deeply frustrating for learners because they often do not make literal sense, but this one is incredibly common and very native sounding. The phrase is to stock up.
To stock up. This is a fantastic, highly practical phrasal verb. It means to purchase a very large quantity of a specific item.
So more than just one or two.
Much more. You are not just buying one box of pasta for dinner tonight. You are buying enough boxes to last you for several weeks or even months. You are intentionally building up a stock or a reserve of it in your home pantry.
And there is a real cultural element to this because Americans love buying in bulk. There are usually two very specific scenarios where you will hear Americans use the phrase stock up. The first context our source provides is related to weather emergencies.
Yes, the emergency grocery run.
Panic buying.
Yes. When you turn on the local news and the meteorologist announces that a severe storm is approaching, like a massive winter blizzard in the Northeast or a hurricane in Florida, people tend to panic slightly.
Slightly. They rush to the supermarket by the thousands.
And their goal is to ensure they have enough essential supplies to survive being trapped in their homes for several days without electricity or running water. So they go to the store specifically to stock up on survival items.
Like what?
The classic examples are bottled water, canned goods, and for some reason, toilet paper.
Always the toilet paper. They said a blizzard is coming on Tuesday. We need to go to the store and stock up on water. It is a phrase built for preparation. But the much more common, everyday reason to use this phrase has nothing to do with weather.
What is it?
It has to do with money. Because groceries are incredibly expensive.
Oh, economics definitely drives behavior.
If my absolute favorite brand of coffee, which is normally very pricey, is suddenly marked down as 50% off, I am not just going to buy one single bag. That would be a wasted opportunity.
Right, you take advantage of the price.
I'm going to buy 4 or 5 bags. I am going to stock up.
That is a perfect everyday application. You're taking advantage of a temporary price reduction. Our source material gives another excellent example of this, utilizing an acronym that you will see printed on bright yellow tags all over the store.
Oh, I know this one. It's BOGO.
B-O-G-O.
BOGO.
It stands for buy one, get one free. Or sometimes buy one, get one 50% off.
Exactly. If you see a sign that says the pasta is BOGO today, that is the prime opportunity. You would turn to your friend and say, look, the pasta is BOGO. We should definitely stock up.
We should definitely stock up. It flows perfectly. It sounds infinitely more natural than saying, we should purchase a large quantity of pasta because the price is advantageous.
It reduces the friction of the language. It sounds conversational.
Okay, let's recap our journey so far. We walked through the doors. We resisted the psychological tricks of the produce section.
We learned how to navigate the numbered aisles.
Right, and we know we want to stock up when we see a great BOGO sale. But what happens when you are still lost? What happens when you still cannot find that can of coconut milk? You have to face the challenge of asking for help.
And this is where we have to have a serious conversation about cultural norms. How do we actually stop an employee who is busy working and ask them to help us find the right aisle without sounding like a demanding, rude robot?
It's a tricky balance.
Because if you just rely on direct, literal translation from a grammar textbook, you can get yourself into a lot of awkward social trouble in an American store.
This is perhaps the most vital point for learners to understand today. The difference between grammatical correctness and social appropriateness.
Okay, break that down for us.
Let's look at the problem with direct translation. We will use a very common scenario.
Yeah.
You desperately need milk, and you cannot find it.
You are wandering around, getting frustrated, and you finally spot a store employee wearing an apron, stocking shelves.
Grammatically, according to the rules of English, you could walk right up to that employee and ask the direct question, where is the milk?
Where is the milk? Now, if I write that sentence on a whiteboard in a classroom, the teacher will give me an A+ link. It has a clear subject, a correct verb, and an interrogative question word. It is perfect. But if you walk up to a stranger in an American supermarket and say, where is the milk? Whoa, how does that actually feel to the listener?
It feels incredibly socially clunky. Will the employee understand you?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And they will likely point you toward the dairy refrigerators, but your tone will be perceived as blunt, abrasive, and almost like a command rather than a request.
It sounds like an interrogation. It makes me think of a detective in a movie cornering a suspect. Where is the milk? Tell me now. It lacks all warmth. Why does American English react so poorly to this kind of direct efficiency?
It comes down to a linguistic concept known as negative politeness, which is deeply ingrained in American and Canadian service culture.
Negative politeness.
Yes. In some cultures around the world, directness is highly valued because it is efficient. If you need something, you ask for it plainly, and it is not considered rude. It is just practical.
But not in the U.S.
No. In American culture, there is an underlying societal ideal of egalitarianism. The idea that everyone is fundamentally equal.
Even in a customer service setting.
Exactly. Even in a customer service dynamic, you do not want to speak to an employee as if you are a lord commanding a servant. You want to speak to them as a peer, as a neighbor, asking another neighbor for a small favor.
That makes a lot of sense.
Therefore, American English requires you to use polite framing to soften the interruption. You must pad the direct question with polite introductory phrases.
You have to add a cushion to the question so it doesn't hit so hard. So we need to upgrade from the blunt textbook grammar to smooth, polite, real-world English. What kind of cushion do our sources recommend we use?
There are a few excellent, highly effective alternatives that instantly change the tone. Instead of the blunt, "Where is the milk?" you pad the beginning of the sentence. Try saying, "Could you tell me where the milk is?"
Could you tell me? That changes the dynamic completely. It acknowledges that you're asking them to do something for you. It gives them the agency to say yes.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. It transforms a demand into an inquiry. Alternatively, you can incorporate the navigational vocabulary we just learned and ask, "What aisle is the milk in?"
Oh, I really like that one because it shows you understand how the store works. You aren't asking them to walk you there like a child. You just need the number. What aisle is the milk in?
Right, that's very collaborative.
But what if a learner is feeling particularly nervous? Maybe they feel their English isn't great, and they want a phrase that guarantees they are being as polite as humanly possible.
If you want the gold standard for politely interrupting someone who is working, you should always start with the phrase, "Excuse me." It is the universal signal for a polite interruption.
Okay, so how do we build the full sentence?
The smoothest, most respectful full phrase would be, "Excuse me, do you know where I can find the milk?"
Excuse me, do you know where I can find the milk? That is beautiful. Let's break down why that works so well. Excuse me, apologizes for the interruption. Do you know is a gentle inquiry. Where I can find implies you are willing to go look for it yourself if they just point the way.
Exactly. It completely removes any hint of aggression or demand.
It is the ultimate social lubricant. And it is vital to emphasize to our listeners that store employees in North America are generally trained to be incredibly helpful and friendly.
Assisting customers is a core part of their job description.
Yeah, if you use these softer, polite phrases, they will almost always respond with warmth and a smile. That terrifying fear of talking to a stranger in a second language will just melt away once you see how positively they react to polite framing.
It is all about how you package the request. Now, speaking of packaging requests and specific social protocols, there's one highly specialized area of the supermarket where you absolutely have to interact with a human being.
You cannot avoid it, and the unwritten rules in this section are very strict.
We are, of course, talking about the deli counter.
The deli. Now, depending on where you are from, this concept might be familiar or entirely alien. For those who might not know, the deli, which is short for delicatessen, is a specific section, usually located near the back perimeter or the side of the store.
And it is essentially a long glass display case.
Right. And behind that curved glass, you will see large, whole blocks of fresh, roasted meats like turkey, roast beef, and ham, as well as large wheels or blocks of various cheeses.
But the key difference here is that you cannot just reach out, grab a block of cheese off a shelf, and put it in your cart. These items are strictly behind the glass.
You have to ask an employee to physically slice them for you, usually using a very large, slightly terrifying meat slicer.
And because this requires custom, individualized service for each customer, this section has developed a very specific social protocol that can be deeply confusing if you are experiencing it for the first time.
You cannot just walk up to the glass case and start shouting out your order for turkey.
Please do not do that. Not only will the employees ignore you, but the other customers waiting will immediately become very upset with you. You will completely breach the social contract of the store.
So what is the secret protocol? How do you actually get your turkey?
The protocol is rooted in a ticketing system. When you approach the deli counter, you must first scan the environment and look for a small ticket dispenser.
What does it look like?
It is usually a red or green plastic device sitting on the counter or mounted on a small pole. You walk up, pull the paper, and take a printed number from the dispenser.
It is like waiting at a very slow government office.
It's exactly a queue management system. Once you have your paper number, you must wait patiently. You do not speak. You simply wait until the employee behind the counter finishes with the current customer, looks up at the digital screen displaying the numbers, or actively shouts out your specific number.
Like, number 42, serving number 42.
Precisely. Only when your number is called is it your turn to step up to the glass and speak. And when it is your turn, you need the appropriate phrasing to make your request smoothly, because you have to specify the exact quantity you want.
Because you are ordering by weight, you need to be precise. You don't just say, give me turkey. That is too vague and, again, too demanding. The source gives us a really great natural phrase for this interaction.
What is it?
You step up and say, can I get half a pound of turkey, please?
Can I get is the perfect, casual, yet polite way to initiate a request at any service counter in America. And you brought up a crucial point regarding measurement.
Oh, the dreaded imperial system.
Yes. The United States is one of the very few countries that does not use the metric system for everyday transactions. You cannot ask for 500 grams of turkey or half a kilo of cheese.
They won't know what you mean.
The employees will likely have no idea how to visualize that on their scale. You must order in pounds and ounces.
So asking for half a pound, which is roughly equivalent to a bit less than 250 grams, or asking for a quarter pound, which is a standard amount for a few sandwiches, is the absolute standard way to communicate.
Right. Can I get a quarter pound of cheddar cheese, please?
It communicates exactly what you need while maintaining that polite, egalitarian tone we discussed.
Exactly.
Okay, let's take a breath and recap where we are in our journey. You have navigated the produce section perfectly. You conquered the confusing numbered aisles with their silent letters.
You politely asked an employee where the milk was without sounding like an aggressive police officer.
And you successfully ordered sliced turkey at the deli counter using the ticket system and the imperial weight system. Your cart is full. You have found all your groceries. But now you must face the final boss.
The final boss.
Yes. You must face the most stressful part of the entire trip.
The checkout gauntlet.
The gauntlet. This is where the real physical anxiety kicks in for almost every language learner. You are standing in the long checkout line, pushing your heavy cart forward inch by inch. Let's really describe the intense pressure cooker environment of this space because it is uniquely stressful.
It is stressful because the checkout line is essentially a timed public performance, and you have a captive audience watching your every move.
Yes. You finally make it to the front of the line, and the human cashier begins scanning your items. And they are fast. They do this for a living. They are grabbing your groceries and dragging them across the laser scanner at lightning speed. And your items are rapidly piling up in a disorganized mountain at the end of the conveyor belt.
And in many American supermarkets, unlike in some European models, you are expected to bag your own groceries while the cashier is scanning them.
So you are frantically scrambling. You are trying to find the heavy cans of soup to put at the bottom of the bag. You are desperately trying not to crush the delicate eggs or the bread by putting them on top. And all the while, you can feel the eyes of the person standing in line behind you burning into the back of your head.
The social pressure is immense.
You know they are annoyed. You know they are silently judging how slow you are. The physical pressure to perform quickly is just, it's so heavy.
But the physical act of bagging the groceries is really only half the battle. The other half is the communication. Because while you're frantically trying to play a game of Tetris with your cans and eggs, the cashier is not remaining silent.
No. They are going to start firing questions at you.
The rapid-fire questions. These are the questions that completely short-circuit the brains of English learners. Because you are distracted.
You are focused entirely on saving the eggs from being crushed by a watermelon, and suddenly the cashier speaks.
They might ask a standard customer service question like, "Did you find everything okay today?"
And if you are not expecting that, you just freeze. Or worse, they immediately follow it up with administrative questions. Do you have a loyalty card? Or the classic, paper or plastic?
And because you are panicked, you might end up answering the wrong question. You might hear, paper or plastic, and instinctively just say yes, which makes absolutely no sense and creates a very awkward pause.
Which is exactly why anticipating these specific questions before they happen is so crucial for smoothing out the transaction. If you know the questions are coming, they lose their power to panic you.
Preparation is key.
But before we break down exactly how to answer those cashier questions, we have to talk about the modern alternative to the human cashier line. Because many stores now force you down a different path, which introduces our fourth essential pocket word.
Ah, yes, pocket word number 4. Self-checkout.
Self-checkout. Let's define this space.
The self-checkout area is a designated section near the front of the store where there are absolutely no human cashiers. Instead, you will find a bank of kiosks.
Just rows of screens.
Right. These are automated machines equipped with their own barcode scanners, touch screens, and small bagging areas containing built-in weight scale.
Can you do everything?
In this area, you become the cashier. You are entirely responsible for scanning the barcodes on your own items, bagging them yourself, and processing your payment at the machine.
Now, in theory, the concept of self-checkout is amazing. If I just ran into the store to buy 2 quick items, say a carton of milk and a single loaf of bread, waiting in a long line behind a family with 2 overflowing carts is agonizing. For a quick trip, self-checkout is incredibly fast and efficient.
However, relying on automated technology comes with its own unique, often highly elevated, set of anxieties.
The dilemma of the self-checkout machine. I have to share this scenario because nothing captures the sheer visceral panic of this experience quite like it.
Go ahead, paint the picture.
You are standing at the machine, you scan your carton of milk, beep, everything is going fine. You place the milk into the bagging area, and then, for reasons known only to the computer, the machine suddenly freezes. The screen locks up. A bright, flashing red light illuminates on the pole right above your head, and a very loud, robotic, synthesized voice yells out for the entire front of the store to hear. "Unexpected item in bagging area. Please wait for assistance."
It is a deeply jarring and public experience. The machine is essentially announcing a discrepancy, but psychologically it feels as though the machine is loudly accusing you of making a terrible mistake, or worse, of attempted theft.
Exactly. It makes you feel like an absolute criminal. Everyone else in the self-checkout area stops what they are doing and turns to look at you.
It's mortifying.
And you are just standing there, holding a single piece of fruit, feeling the heat rise in your cheeks, knowing that everyone thinks you are trying to smuggle a stolen lemon out of the store. The anxiety of standing under that flashing red light, waiting for the lone, overworked employee to slowly walk over with their special manager key card to clear the error, it is agonizing.
It is a universally stressful experience. Even native speakers who have used those machines hundreds of times feel a spike in their heart rate when that red light flashes.
So it's not just learners.
Not at all. So the reality is, whether you are facing the lightning-fast human cashier who is firing rapid questions at you while you bag, or the angry, flashing self-checkout machine accusing you of crimes, you need the right words to finish this transaction smoothly so you can escape the store with your dignity intact.
Which brings us to the final phase of our deep dive, nailing the final transaction. Let's smooth this out. Let's imagine you chose the human cashier to avoid the angry machines.
Good choice.
You have pushed your cart to the front of the line. The cashier is finishing with the person in front of you. Now it is your turn. How do you start the interaction? Because a very common, very understandable mistake for learners is to snap up, freeze under the pressure, and then bluntly announce their intention to the cashier by saying, "I want to pay now."
Yes, let's analyze that phrase for a moment. I want to pay now. Much like the earlier example of where is the milk. And this phrase is grammatically flawless, but culturally jarring.
It sounds incredibly stiff and robotic.
It is stiff. And more importantly, it is entirely unnecessary context. If you are standing at a checkout register, unloading a cart full of groceries onto a conveyor belt, the cashier is already fully aware that you want to pay. Stating the obvious makes the interaction feel unnatural. You do not need to announce your intention.
So if you shouldn't announce that you want to pay, what should you do instead? How do you initiate the interaction naturally?
Generally, the best and smoothest approach is to simply engage in the expected cultural norm of small talk.
Ah, small talk.
Yes. When you step up to the register, the cashier will almost inevitably look at you and say something like, "Hi, how are you today?" Or "How's it going?"
And this is where learners sometimes overthink it.
They do. You do not need to pause and provide a genuine, detailed assessment of your emotional or mental health. The cashier is not your therapist. They are just initiating a social ritual. You simply need to return the volley. You smile and say, "Hi, I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?"
Small talk at the register is a major, major cultural norm in both the United States and Canada. It is the expected social rhythm. It softens the transactional nature of the exchange. It goes back to that egalitarian idea we discussed, treating the service worker like a neighbor rather than a vending machine.
Now, there is an exception to this. If you find yourself in a situation where you are standing at a counter, perhaps at a smaller neighborhood market or a department store, and the employee is standing there doing something else, like organizing paperwork or cleaning, and they haven't noticed you.
Okay, so they don't say hi first.
Right. You need to politely signal that you are ready to begin the transaction. But even then, you still do not say, I want to pay.
What is the smooth, natural upgrade for that specific situation?
The most natural phrasing is to say, hi, I'm ready to check out.
I'm ready to check out. That sounds perfectly natural. Checkout is the phrasal verb that encompasses the entire process of scanning and paying. It is a subtle linguistic difference from I want to pay, but it elevates your English instantly and makes you sound like a local.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have successfully greeted the cashier with some polite small talk. They start scanning. Now comes the most common of the rapid-fire questions, the bag question.
Yes, the bag question. The cashier will look at your pile of groceries and ask, would you like a bag today? Or do you need bags for these? What is the clunky mistake that learners tend to make in this specific moment?
The most common clunky response is a literal translation from their native language. They will say, I don't need plastic bag.
I don't need plastic bag. Yeah, it feels very abrupt.
There are two distinct issues with this response. First, there's a minor grammatical error. It is missing the indefinite article a. It should be a plastic bag. But more importantly, the tone is robotic, blunt, and sounds slightly defensive.
It sounds like you are aggressively rejecting the very concept of plastic, like you are deeply offended they even offered it. So how do we upgrade this to sound casual and local?
Well, we have to consider how environmental habits have changed significantly over the last decade. In many cities and states, plastic bags are either banned or require an extra fee, and bringing your own reusable canvas grocery bags from home is the standard norm.
So true.
So the smoothest, most polite response, if you brought your own, is simply, I brought my own bags, thanks.
I brought my own bags, thanks. It is brilliant. It directly answers the question, it explains why you don't need their bags, and it includes a polite thanks at the end to soften the tone. It is a perfect response.
But let's look at another scenario.
Okay. What if you didn't bring your own bags, but you just don't need one? Let's say you just ran into the store to buy a single bottle of water or a pack of gum. You are just going to carry it in your hand. You don't need a bag for one item.
This scenario brings us to what I truly consider the ultimate, universally useful, polite declination in American English.
Yes. The ultimate phrase. The secret weapon. What is it?
If you are holding a single item and require absolutely no further assistance or packaging from the cashier, you simply smile and say, no bag, thanks, I'm good.
I'm good. I want to pause the entire deep dive right here and just appreciate the sheer power and utility of I'm good. This three-word phrase is a linguistic superpower for English learners.
I could not agree more. I'm good is a fascinating modern idiom, and it is crucial to understand its pragmatic meaning. When you say I'm good, you are not making a statement about your morality. You are not saying you are a good person, nor are you making a statement about your physical health.
You aren't saying you feel healthy today.
Exactly. In this specific conversational context, I'm good translates to, my current state is completely satisfactory and I require no additions, upgrades, or assistance. It is the friendliest, most casual, and most effective way to say no thank you to an offer.
And the beauty of it is that you can use it everywhere. It is not just for the grocery store. It works in almost any casual, social, or service interaction.
Definitely. Give some examples.
Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter comes over with a pitcher and asks, would you like more water? You smile and say, no thanks, I'm good.
Perfect.
You are at a cafe and the barista asks, do you want a receipt for that coffee? You say, no thanks, I'm good.
It works perfectly there too.
The cashier asks, do you need a bag? No bag, thanks, I'm good. It is casual, it is inherently friendly, and it completely prevents you from sounding harsh, cold, or ungrateful when you reject something someone is offering you.
It is an essential foundational phrase for your conversational toolkit. I highly encourage learners to start incorporating it immediately. And speaking of the barista asking if you want a receipt, that perfectly transitions us to the final piece of the checkout puzzle, which involves our fifth and final pocket word.
Yes, the final barrier between you and the exit. Let's spell pocket word number 5, R-E-C-E-I-P-T.
And once again, we return to the absolute madness of English spelling rules.
It is completely unfair to learners. You look at the spelling of R-E-C-E-I-P-T, your eye naturally catches that letter P sitting right there near the end of the word. So logically, reasonably, an English learner will attempt to pronounce the P. They will look at the cashier and ask for a receipt.
Which is an entirely logical deduction based on the spelling.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in English, logic often takes a backseat to history. In this particular word, that P is completely 100% silent.
Wow.
It serves absolutely no phonetic purpose whatsoever in modern pronunciation.
It is just sitting there to cause trouble. So how do we actually pronounce it so the cashier understands us?
You pronounce it receipt. The emphasis or the stress falls firmly on the second syllable. Listen closely. Receipt.
Receipt. Never receipt. And just to ensure we are completely clear on definitions, a receipt is that small, usually white piece of printed thermal paper that the cashier hands you at the end of the transaction or that the self-checkout machine spits out at you.
Right. It's your proof.
It is the official document proving your purchase, listing every single item you bought and the exact amount of money you paid for them.
And it is absolutely vital to know this word and to keep that small piece of paper, especially in North America. The consumer culture here relies heavily on receipts. If you ever need to process a return, say you brought the wrong size of batteries, or if you get home, open the milk, and discover that it is completely spoiled, you must have proof of purchase.
They won't just take your word for it.
No, most stores will not process a return or a refund without seeing the receipt.
It is your golden ticket if something goes wrong. Okay, take a deep breath. We now have all the individual pieces on the board. We understand the deceptive psychology of the produce section. We have our pocket words, produce, aisle, stock up, self-checkout, and receipt.
We have learned the smooth, polite phrases for asking for help without sounding demanding.
Like, excuse me, could you tell me? And we know how to navigate the intense pressure of the checkout line with casual small talk and the ultimate superpower phrase, I'm good.
We have all the theory and the vocabulary. Now it is time to see how all these disparate pieces fit together seamlessly. We need to look at the broader picture of an entire, uninterrupted shopping trip.
Welcome to the masterclass. Let's take a comprehensive scenario straight from our source material and analyze exactly how these words and phrases flow together in a real-world, busy supermarket interaction. We are going to break this down step by step, beat by beat, so you can truly hear the rhythm of a native speaker navigating the store.
This is where the magic happens. Let's begin with the first phase, which we will call the floor interaction.
Okay, let's set the scene for the listener. Imagine the shopper is walking the aisles. They have their cart, they are looking at their handwritten list, and they desperately need jasmine rice for dinner, but they have walked up and down the store and they cannot find it.
The frustration is mounting. So they spot a store employee down the walkway who is busy stocking shelves with cans of soup. Here is where the shopper applies the first smooth upgrade we discussed.
Okay, watch the approach.
Instead of walking up and bluntly stating, "Where is the rice?" the shopper approaches, waits for a moment of eye contact, and says, "Excuse me, do you know where I can find the jasmine rice?"
It is brilliant in its execution. Excuse me, softens the interruption, acknowledging that the employee is working. Do you know where I can find is polite, indirect, and removes all aggression from the request.
The employee responds very positively to that polite, respectful tone. They stop what they are doing, smile, and direct the shopper by using one of our crucial navigational pocket words. The employee says, "Oh, sure, the rice is going to be in aisle 7, right about halfway down next to the pasta and the canned beans."
Aisle 7. The shopper hears the silent S, instantly understands the navigational cue, and knows exactly where they need to go. But then the shopper executes a very natural, highly advanced conversational pivot. They realize they need one more item while they still have the helpful employee's attention.
The shopper seamlessly follows up by asking, "Oh, also, do you guys have any fresh basil today? I checked the produce section earlier, but I couldn't find any."
Let's pause the tape right there. That is an absolute masterclass in using vocabulary contextually. Notice what the shopper didn't say. They didn't say the vegetable area or the green food zone. They said, "I checked the produce section."
By using that highly specific noun, and critically, by using the correct phonetic stress on the first syllable produce, they sound completely effortlessly integrated into the environment.
It is a marker of fluency. It establishes immediate shared context with the employee. Now, the employee has some bad news regarding the basil, but because the interaction has been so pleasant, they handle it professionally and try to help.
What do they say?
They politely explain, "I'm so sorry about that. We actually sold out of all our fresh basil first thing this morning." But they do not just leave the shopper hanging. They offer a helpful alternative. But if you just need it for cooking, we do have dried basil in aisle 4 right next to all the other spices.
A completely 100% successful floor interaction. The shopper avoided the anxiety of wandering aimlessly for another 20 minutes. They used the correct vocabulary flawlessly, and they got the precise information they needed twice.
So feeling confident, they grab the dried basil from aisle 4, they secure the jasmine rice from aisle 7, and they confidently push their cart to the front of the store.
Which brings us to the second half of our masterclass breakdown, the register interaction.
The shopper looks at the flashing red lights of the self-checkout machines, decides they do not want to risk being yelled at by a computer today, and chooses a human cashier.
A smart move on a busy day.
As they step up to the conveyor belt, they remember their training. They do not freeze in panic, and they certainly do not robotically announce, "I want to pay."
Instead, they willingly participate in the cultural rhythm of American small talk.
The cashier finishes scanning the first few items, looks up, and asks, "Hi there, did you find everything okay today?" And the shopper casually replies, "Yes, I did, thanks. Actually, I saw the pasta was on sale, so I decided to stock up."
I want to highlight that specific sentence. That is a phenomenal use of the phrasal verb we learned earlier. I decided to stock up. It serves a dual purpose. It engages in casual, friendly conversation about a BOGO sale, and it naturally explains to the cashier why they are currently placing 8 boxes of identical pasta onto the belt without sounding defensive or weird about it.
It makes the entire transaction feel friendly, human, and connective rather than purely transactional and cold. So the cashier finishes scanning the mountain of pasta at lightning speed, and they hit a button on their register to announce the final price. The total comes to $45.50. And immediately, here comes the rapid-fire bag question. The cashier asks, "Would you like a bag for these today?"
And right here, the shopper perfectly executes the smooth upgrade. They avoid the robotic article missing trap. They do not say, "I don't need plastic bag." They smile and say, "I brought my own bags, thanks. I can just pack them up right here."
It is incredibly smooth, it directly answers the question, and it remains polite. The cashier then nods and says, "Perfect. You can go ahead and insert your card into the reader whenever you're ready." The shopper inserts their chip card, the machine beeps, the payment is approved, and we arrive at the absolute final moment of the journey.
The final hurdle, the final pocket word. The cashier looks at the screen and asks, "Would you like your receipt printed or emailed to you?"
And the shopper, confidently, entirely ignoring the deceitful letter P in the spelling, says, "Printed is fine, thank you." Receipt, not receipt. The cashier hands over the paper, offers a final, "Have a good weekend," and the shopper walks out the automatic doors victorious with their groceries and their dignity intact.
When you take the time to break it down beat by beat like that, you can clearly see how each individual component, the specific vocabulary, the phonetic pronunciation, the polite phrasing, and the cultural awareness of small talk all interlock. They work together to create a seamless, entirely stress-free interaction.
It really is a beautiful thing when all those puzzle pieces come together. So zooming out, what does this all mean for you, the learner who has been listening to this deep dive?
The biggest takeaway should be a sense of relief. It means that successfully navigating a massive, chaotic, intimidating American grocery store does not require you to possess perfect, incredibly complex academic grammar. You do not need to construct long, elaborate, multi-clause paragraphs to buy milk.
You really don't. The secret handshake is actually quite simple once you know it. It is just about knowing a few highly specific pocket words, understanding how the layout tries to trick you, and relying on very short, very polite questions. If you can remember to pad your request with, "Excuse me, and could you tell me?" you are going to be completely fine.
And to help you solidify these skills, we want to pass on a fantastic piece of actionable advice from our sources. It is a highly effective way to practice everything we discussed today without facing any actual pressure.
Yes, the mental rehearsal technique.
How does that work?
The next time you are in a supermarket, in your home country, wherever you live, whether it is a massive chain or a small local market, doing your regular weekly shopping, try to walk through the aisles and actively translate the environment into English in your head.
Oh, that's a great idea.
When you walk past the fresh vegetables at the entrance, actively say "produce section" in your mind, stressing the first syllable. When you turn down a long walkway to find cereal, think, "I am walking down aisle 3. Look at the items you are buying in bulk because they are on sale and think to yourself, "I am stocking up on rice."
It is all about mental rehearsal. By actively naming the sections and describing your actions using English vocabulary while you are in a safe, familiar environment, you are building and reinforcing those neurological pathways. You are creating muscle memory.
So when the real moment comes, you're ready.
Exactly. So that when you are finally standing in a massive foreign supermarket and the pressure is on, the vocabulary comes to you naturally and effortlessly.
It is absolutely the best way to practice without the terrifying pressure of an impatient cashier staring at you. Now, before we officially wrap up today's deep dive, there was a really fun, slightly revealing question posed at the end of our source material, and we want to pass it directly on to you as a little call to action to think about.
The snack question.
Yes, the non-negotiable snack question. What is the one snack or food item you always buy at the grocery store, no matter what? Even if you just went in strictly for milk and eggs, what is the one specific thing that inevitably magically ends up in your shopping cart every single time?
It is a very revealing question about our deeply ingrained habits and comfort foods. In our sources, the author shared two very specific personal examples. One person admitted that they absolutely cannot leave the store without buying a box of extra toasty Cheez-Its.
Extra toasty Cheez-Its. That is such a specific, incredibly American snack, and honestly highly relatable to the hungry shopping phenomenon we discussed earlier. It is pure processed comfort.
The other example provided from the source was slightly healthier, but still obsessive. Sparkling water. But the author noted that they do not just buy one bottle. They buy it in massive bulk. They are compelled to stock up on cases of sparkling water every single time they set foot in the store.
It is always fascinating to hear what people consider their absolute non-negotiable grocery items. So take a moment and think about what your answer would be. What is your version of the extra toasty Cheez-It? But as we come to the very end of our time together today, I want to leave you with a final, slightly deeper, provocative thought to mull over.
What's the thought?
We talked at the very beginning of the show about how the textbook is just the map, but the noisy, chaotic supermarket is the real territory.
Yes, the vast, often intimidating gap between classroom theory and lived reality.
Exactly. We spent an hour talking about how overwhelming that reality can be. A warehouse-sized building filled with 50,000 products, the flashing red lights of angry self-checkout machines, the psychological tricks of the layout, and the immense social pressure to speak a second language perfectly to a stranger. It is an environment literally designed to be overwhelming. But here's the thought I want you to consider.
Okay, lay it on us.
How much does the specific language we use actually shape our physical, emotional experience of a physical space?
That is a profound question to end on. We so often think of language merely as a utilitarian tool to extract information, like a key used simply to unlock the location of the jasmine rice.
Right. We think of it purely as function. But it is so much more than that. It is armor. If you walk into that massive, intimidating store armed with the secret handshake, if you know how to say P-R-O-deuce confidently instead of awkwardly asking for the vegetable area.
If you know the S in aisle is completely silent so you don't stumble over it.
Yeah. If you can look a cashier in the eye and casually drop, "No bag, thanks, I'm good," without freezing up in a panic, does that internal confidence fundamentally change the room itself?
That's a great point.
If we feel linguistically equipped and socially polite, does that intimidating, cold, warehouse-sized supermarket suddenly shrink down to a manageable size? Does it start to feel a little bit more like a welcoming, familiar neighborhood market simply because we know how to navigate the social conversation?
I firmly believe it absolutely does. Competence breeds comfort. When you remove the overwhelming anxiety of communication, you free up your mental bandwidth to actually enjoy the environment. You might even find yourself transitioning into the person who wanders the aisles with a cup of coffee, enjoying the stroll and looking for inspiration.
That is the ultimate goal. To evolve from the stressed-out shopper rushing through a painful chore to the confident, relaxed wanderer who feels completely at home in the culture. We want to warmly thank you for joining us on this extensive deep dive today. We sincerely hope you feel significantly more prepared to conquer the checkout gauntlet the next time you face it.
Keep practicing that mental rehearsal in your local store. Keep building that pocket vocabulary, and remember that every interaction is just a chance to practice the handshake.
And you will definitely want to keep practicing those conversational skills because the source material briefly teased our next topic, and it is going to be incredibly relatable and useful. Next time, we're diving into a completely different environment.
What's the topic?
How to survive a bad haircut at the salon. Because if you thought asking a cashier for milk was stressful, try explaining to a stylist wielding sharp scissors that they just cut your bangs way, way too short. That is going to be another incredibly high-anxiety communication scenario you will absolutely not want to miss. Thank you so much for listening. Stay confident out there and keep practicing your English.